Hey, everybody. If you want the full uncensored episode, be sure to click the link below to join the Fight Club on Patreon. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. Whoa. I couldn't wait for this one. Ryan Vandenbussche, how are you, Bushy baby? Good to see
buddy,
you.
man. Nice to see you guys, too. Wow. It's been a while. Miss you guys.
You know, it's funny. Carson, our producer, was just saying, because Bushy's doing this on his phone, he said, go up and, put on the do not disturb sign. I think maybe that's a sign you should have hung around your neck when you're out in the fucking ice. What do you think? Do not disturb, because if you do, you're in fucking trouble with me.
That'll be a suspension. That'll be a fine. Nyland going ballistic. He's a freaking madman.
I'm Chris Nyland, and this is the Raw Knuckles Podcast. Well, Bushy, awesome to have you. What a small world. I didn't know you played with Tim, right? Over in Finland, which is a good story. But how you doing? What's going on?
Oh, shit, man. A lot of shit going on. Kids, married, 22 years. 2 kids, boy and a girl. My girl's in her second year of university in Niagara Falls, New York, playing some hockey there. And my son just graduated high school last year, grass cutting this summer, and he's not sure what he wants to do. Probably do some traveling maybe a little bit, save up some money to do that, because it's not on my tab. We'll help go to school, but fucking travel the world. That's what I want to do, man. I'm 51, still haven't quite done that. So anyways, so he's coming back from there, and he's talking about joining the military, so we'll see how that goes. We never know, right?
Wow, that'll be awesome, right? Military, obviously you, as a civilian, won the Canadian Forces Medallion for distinguished service, and going to Afghanistan quite a few times, right? We had a blast over there.
That's where we met. I remember you and Pro, we were animals. I was smoking the weed and you guys were doing that other shit.
Yeah, it was a little crazy. But those were great trips.
They were.
I mean,
yeah.
What were they? They were just like, you went and played hockey there?
Yeah, like basically we went there to break up the monotony. We thought they always said we were doing them a favor, but they were more doing us a favor, because they were pleasant to talk to, hearing their stories. We would play ball hockey against. They would select a Team Canada, so it was always a very competitive ball hockey game, man. Because we play the first 2 games are fairly easy. But then they have a select team, right? And these guys are in the military. We're just retired has-beens. So these guys are like in the prime, right? And they're definitely out conditioning us and out strengthening us for sure. But they were doing a lot more running around, and we just knew, it took a little bit to figure it out. Knuckles, But we brought that back, just where you're standing positional. So you're there for the puck and let them run around. And then I think we lost maybe out of all of it. We played a lot of games, but we didn't lose that many.
Yeah, it's funny. The one year I played with the U.S. team, Brian Burke was there. And we played with the U.S. team. The 101st Airborne. They had a group. So, there are lieutenant colonels there and everybody. And I got to meet him. He was a great guy. All these kids, they're picking up hockey sticks. They don't know what the fuck to do with them. All these American kids, they were all from like Texas or fucking Louisiana, Tennessee, right? And they get out there on the rink, and they were like, fuck, it was just like crazy. And I remember, I don't know who it was, come up to me. I think it was Dennis Maruk or something. I said, Jesus, they can't play. I said, fucking Dennis, these fucking guys don't grow up with hockey sticks, and they grow up with fucking guns. They don't grow up with hockey sticks. It was so funny. And I ended up playing them, but we played the Canadian team. We got our ass kicked, but it was fun. Yeah, but that was awesome getting to meet you there. And again, when you talk about Afghanistan, Tim, for me, that was a life-changing experience. And I went 3 times, and I'm telling you, each time I could not wait to get back. I just loved that experience. All the troops, whether U.S., Canadian troops, they were just so appreciative that there were civilians there that come over to one, do that, but 2, actually interact with them and talk with them. Wasn't it so
It
cool,
was really
Ryan?
neat because there was quite an eclectic group of people that went down. Like there was about, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 alumni, like NHL alumni, and then there was some CFL alumni, and then there was some business icons, you know, from the Dragon's Den.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then there was like some bands like Finger 11 and Tim Hicks and you know, there was some really good entertainment. The Carpet Frogs, my first year, I think it was 2009. So then they have this big concert, and it just brought all the countries together that were there. And we were in Kandahar Airfield, which is, they call it CAF for short, and it's about 15 kilometers squared. And I remember when the first year we went there, we had to fly into Dubai first because that was the pit stop, and then we had to take a Hercules plane and then do a tactical landing in CAF. And so we were like flying, I don't know how many feet above CAF, but then the pilot says, okay, be prepared because we're going to be doing a tactical landing. And that's pretty much all they said. And we dropped, I don't know how many feet in about 2 seconds. It was, someone said 6,000 feet in about 5 seconds or something, but it was like, and then you come down for that fast and then you do a swooping motion and then you land.
Are you ready to take your love for hockey to the next level? Join the Fight Club Raw Knuckles exclusive Patreon to unlock amazing perks like ad-free episodes, bonus interviews, and even a chance to win a game day experience with me in the Habs Cave. Don't miss out on this ultimate hockey experience. I was watching a lot of your fights, Bushy. And I'm going to tell you, I picked up on something that a lot of guys don't do, and you did, and I think it really helped you. Not being a big guy like me, we're kind of the same size. You very rarely threw a straight left hand. All your fucking lefts are left hooks. And when I watched one fight, then I watched another, and very rarely did it ever come from here. It came from here. And boy, when you hit guys, they went down. And we know what happened, certainly to Kyprios, but just other guys. Like was that just natural to you, or did you think I'm throwing left hooks? I'm not going to throw straight lefts, because you are a hell of a lefty and a righty. You're a hell of a fighter.
I was always told to, you know, when fighting, I didn't even know I could fight. I just loved playing a game of hockey. I absolutely loved it. And playing junior hockey, you know, I was a guy that could skate fairly decent and I could finish my checks. And older guys didn't like that, so they would come after me. And I would fight, and I didn't realize I was a lefty until I just started throwing lefts. I don't know, it was weird. Because I'm kind of ambidextrous. I write with my left hand, but then I do play tennis and ping pong with my right, but I can do ping pong with my left too. It's kind of weird.
Same, yeah.
So I, you know, I used to punch from further back, but I was getting too many blows. So I took a little bit of boxing lessons, and I learned how to punch just as hard from your chin, pretty much punching through the target as punching back. You know what I mean? So I just learned how to be more efficient. So there are some techniques in there. I visualize a lot of things in my head, how I kind of wanted things to go down if I got, you know, different scenarios. My left arm got tied up, but what I like to do is I'd like to get in tight on a guy, and at the same time I'm not tight on him. Like if I could do this, especially with a big guy, I want to get a good grip at the same time. At the same time, I'm grabbing the back of their helmet. So when I got a good grip and I got the back of their helmet, it's a push and pull. Now I'm already cocked and ready to go. That was one of my staple moves.
Right. You always pulled helmets off too. That was another thing.
Yeah, my dad said, "What are you doing?"
You like to grab
junior B. My dad's like, "What are you doing punching a helmet? Get the goddamn helmet off. The only thing you're going to hurt is your hands, your knuckles."
Yeah. Right.
Did you prefer fighting? Did you prefer fighting guys like more your size, or?
I'd rather fight guys bigger than me. I put zero pressure on myself to win anything because I just, you know, because I'm not a big guy. So 9 times out of 10, I'm fighting guys that are, you know, bigger than me. And then if I lose, well, I'm expected to lose really. And then guys that are my size, those are the real scary ones because, you know, like I remember one time I was down in the minors in Baltimore. And this guy, Trevor Sen, he was a minor league tough guy, really tough, really tough. And I'm like, oh, finally I get to fight a guy who's actually a little bit smaller than me, right? So I square off with him, and this is in Baltimore, and he comes in with a haymaker of a right and just just hits me so hard. Everything. He got everything behind it. Dropped me down to one knee. And he almost knocked me out, but I got up and I just automatically grabbed him and I just threw as hard and as fast as I could. And then I'm sitting in the penalty box. I'm thinking of my grade 3 school teacher. Like, I am severely concussed. What do? I get out of the goddamn penalty box and go after their biggest guy and fight and beat the shit out of him. And I'm like, that's just the way it was back then. Dude.
Yeah, it's funny that Trevor Sen, a lot of people didn't know him. When I coached in the East Coast Hockey League, he played in Richmond. I'm there. Who is this kid? I'm glad. I hated fighting smaller guys. I remember fighting Stan Jonathan, right? And forget it. I'm like, give me a 6'4", 6'5" any day over the guy like Jonathan. But so Bushy, you're born in Simcoe, Ontario. The Hunters from Simcoe or they're Petrolia? Petrolia Post? They're from Petrolia.
Yeah, but
the Hunter brothers.
Yeah, locally around here, you so some older names. More, no offense, Knuckles, but you're a little bit older than me.
Yeah,
so older. Chico Mackey, Wayne Mackey, Rick Walmsley, Red Kelly.
Warmer, I play with Warmer.
Red Kelly.
Yeah.
And then you got Rob Blake, Nelson Emerson, then Jason Collmore. And
how about Kerry Frazier? Is Frazier from around there?
No, this is just Norfolk County, which is like population 60,000.
Yeah.
You live there now?
That's where I grew up. This is where I live. When I retiring from hockey, like, I don't know how you guys did it, but I was like, during the 04-05 lockout, that was a real eye opener for me because I just signed a deal with Pittsburgh, and then I remember thinking, you know what, I'm pretty happy. I was already getting beaten and battered. I was like at the end of my career, and I was always told to play as long as you can frickin' play, and I'm doing that. But I am frickin' sore, and I'm like I kind of lost my fight a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I was just, and then you have kids too, so you're thinking about tomorrow a little bit more than you would be when you don't have any kids. Yeah. And so I thought, okay, this is going to be work. I was making $500,000 that year, and I'm like, okay, how am I ever going to make that money again? So like, let's take advantage of this. Let's have a couple months off, get rested up, recover. But then when they canceled the season, I was like, holy shit. Okay, well, what the frick am I going to do now? If we were to be done hockey for the rest of my life today, like, I made some good money in the NHL, but not certainly enough to retire and do nothing for the rest of my life. And just wanted to maintain, keep a roof over our head and food and have our bellies from not touching our backbone. That's you don't need to make millions of dollars. And I was like, what am I going to do? And then, so when I canceled the season, I was like, real estate. So I made a conscious decision. It was a couple years later. I was like, I was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, and then I got my real estate license on, 6 months after I retired. My wife and I were selling real estate, got right into the real world. I was going to go coach in Guelph, but they wanted me to move there. And it was just, the hockey world is just so, as a player, you have zero security, but as a coach, it's even worse, right? So I kind of wanted to just get back to my home roots, Tim, and, have a place where my kids can get grounded and rooted for about 15 years. And now they're off, and I'm pretty much a half empty nester. So yeah, different life now.
Yeah. Listen, it's probably good that lockout happened for a lot of reasons. Guys are making a lot more money today. So there's some sacrifice there, especially as an older player. I remember my last year, we went on strike before the playoffs, 91, 92. And I lost a big chunk of my salary, and it's like, this is my last year. But what am I going to do? I am going to cross the picket line? Yeah. See you later. But, I lost a good chunk of dough. And anyway, and I hear you at the end. For me, it was difficult too, right? My body's beat up. I always, Tim has heard this before, but my last year when I was in Boston there before I came back to Montreal, I remember fighting the Grim Reaper. He was with the Hawks. I fight him, and I come out of that one. I'm like, oh, shit, that was hard. Sitting in the penalty box going, that was a tough one. Didn't go down, stayed on my feet, went with him. But, he definitely had the edge on me. Then the next night we play Hartford, and Big Jim McKenzie comes strolling
Big
into town.
lefty.
I'm like, fuck. Yeah, so then I get to the box. This was back-to-back nights we played them. And Bushy, I sat in the penalty box, and I had the toys in the attic. They're just running around up there. I'm going, God, that's getting tough. Should I still be doing this? This is getting really difficult. And once you start questioning yourself, you're done. And you can't let anybody else know it, right? That you're questioning yourself. No. You have to keep that to yourself, and which I did. But anyway, I want to get back. So you played in Cornwall, not far up the road from here. You know, well, how did the fighting start in Cornwall? Like did you always have that in you? Like, I'm gonna be a fighter when I play hockey, or did it happen? Was it happenstance?
So prior to Cornwall, I was playing junior B. I made a local junior B team in Tillsonburg, and home of Coley Campbell. You know Coley. I'm sure you've met Coley a few times. Yeah. Anyways, so it was. I wasn't playing much junior B. The coach didn't really play much, but I ended up being drafted. So I learned to fight those older guys a little bit there, but not. And that's when my dad was a very huge hockey fan. He was general manager of like a senior A team, and just loved being involved in hockey. He wasn't a good hockey player himself. He was a goalie, and he said that he was a shitty goalie, but he just loved the game, right? And so I was hanging out with him. He's taking me to the game, junior B, and he was giving me some advice and this and that. And then I was drafted by the Cornwall Royals in the 14th round. And I remember driving down there with my dad, and he was like, Ryan, you're a 14th round draft pick. You're not expected to make this team. You better do something out there and get noticed, and get noticed in a good way, And I was a physical guy, so go finish your checks. And if somebody wants to fight you, well, then do what you got to do. So that's kind of what happened there. Mark Crawford at the time was the coach in Cornwall. So he was scary as shit. Like, here I am, 17 years old, and this guy is this. I could tell you some stories.
He was a hot ass coach too.
Yeah,
right?
Thank God he liked me. But man, if he didn't like you, he really didn't like college players either. Because I had him my first year pro in St. John's, but we'll get to that later. So in training camp, I was just running around and finishing my checks, and just the guys came after me, and I did well, and that's pretty much how I got into it, and kind of honed in on my skill. And I had a lot of coaches telling me that throughout my career, like, you fight too much. I don't want you to don't fight. Like, after I got drafted by Toronto, I was like, I want you to be like a Mike Keane player. And I signed with Chicago. I want you to be like a Kirk Maltby type player. But it seemed like it was just easier to fight than it was to. I don't know why I went that route, but it worked for me, I guess. Maybe I should have listened to them.
No, it did. It did. And you could play the game. You had great wheels. You could, a couple of goals you scored there. Did you feel like once you started fighting, you didn't get as much opportunity to play in different situations to be able to show that?
100%. You typecast yourself into one specific role, and I pretty much did that, because if I wasn't getting much ice time, I felt, well, I was going to score sheet somehow, and that's kind of just did my thing that way.
What happened in Toronto, by the way? Because so you get drafted by the Leafs, and like, the Leafs sucked. They did. They sucked. I remember my whole career going in Toronto. Their teams were fucking brutal. And, the place was sold out all the time. Like, how come you didn't get opportunity there? Who was coaching up at that time?
So it was Pat Burns, and Bill Waters was the assistant GM, and Cliff Fletcher was the GM.
So it started to turn.
Yeah.
Okay.
So then Warren Reichel, Kenny Baumgartner were the tough guys with the Leafs at the time, 93, 94, 95. And then, first year, I remember being drafted, and I was just happy to be at camp. I didn't have any, I didn't think I was going to make the team at all, and had no expectations. I was happy to go to play pro hockey, make $35,000 Canadian playing in St. John's, Newfoundland. I thought I won the jackpot.
Yeah,
I thought,
you're rich.
Yeah, right. But I tell you one thing: after the first year, and Mark Crawford being my head coach again, I was like, Okay, I can see why the older players were getting a little pissy if they didn't get their checks on time. You know what I mean? Like, it's a
Yeah.
real job. You're 82 games. You're flying around the Atlantic Division, all over the place, and it's like it was pretty cool, but it had its moments. I can see why the average career is not that long. So, but yeah.
Not Timothy.
No, I was gonna say, were you expecting to get drafted, or was that a big complete surprise for you, just to get drafted?
No,
in
Toronto
general?
came down and met with me in the summer, and they said if you're around the seventh, eighth round, we're going to be picking you. And that did happen, and that was the year. So 1992 was a year they took the curtain down pretty much, where there was no limit on the Europeans that you could pick, right? So there's a lot of guys that on my that I knew that were rated in the third, fourth round, fourth, fifth round, and never got drafted at all because there's just an influx of European players coming in from everywhere. So so getting back to the St. John story, so after the first year, I go back to camp the following year. Tom Watt was my coach the second year in St. John's, Newfoundland. What a beautiful man he was. He was great and funny as hell.
Yeah.
And Warren Reichel was injured that year. Kenny Baumgartner was injured that year. I was leading the league in fights and majors at that point in the American Hockey League. I was top 3 for sure. Frankie the Animal Bialowas was on my team, and Kenny Baumgartner.
Frank the Animal.
We were roommates that year. He taught me how to play chess.
Some of the names, right? Taught you how to play chess.
And anyway, so Cliff Fletcher gives me a shout. Because Kenny, so those guys were injured, Kenny Baumgartner and Warren Reichel, and then and Kenny Belanger and Frankie were both injured, and the assistant GM Bill Waters was like, gives me a call and say, Ryan, you're gonna get called up. Just keep on doing what you're doing. You're playing really well, And I'm like, whoa, I did not expect that. I wasn't even thinking that at all. My second year pro. And so I got a little excited, and then I get a call back from Bill Waters a couple of weeks later, and he says, Ryan, Cliff Fletcher thinks you're too small to be a tough guy in the NHL. You're not getting called up. So they waited for Kenny Belanger to heal up, and then they called him up. And that was my stand. And so here's the best advice that my dad gave me. End of the year comes, I'm flying in to Toronto for exit meetings, and we have to meet with Bill Waters. So they have me by the short and curlies because I'm a restricted free agent after your second year pro, right? All they had to do was give me a 10% increase on my salary. And I asked them, I said, they want to re-sign me. And I was like, well, what are your plans for me? Like, my goal is to play in the NHL, not the American Hockey League. What are your plans for me? And Bill Waters, I give him this, he was honest. He was like, well, we have you pegged for the American Hockey League. And he was honest with me. I said, well, thank you. Can I ask for my release? And then he gave me my release. And then I was a little nervous because July 1st hits. Nobody's knocking on my door. I was like, all of July goes by. I'm like, oh, shit.
Where is everybody?
Hello. And then I get a ring from, then in August, middle of August, the Rangers got a little my agent at the time, Larry Kelly, and offered me a 2-year deal there, making $50,000 US
Cool.
and $350 in the NHL, which is pretty damn good, I thought.
Yeah.
So I was excited. And that's where I got my start.
Get into the action with Fight Club, Raw Knuckles' new exclusive Patreon. From ad-free episodes to uncensored content and discounts on merch, there's something for every hockey fan. Join the Fight Club today. So you get that 2-year deal with New York. Now you're off to the Big Apple. How is that going to New York? Always obviously playing hockey in Canada your whole life. Now you're south of the border in New York, the Big Apple can be intimidating. How was your time in New York? And you got an opportunity to play.
Yeah, so signed a 2-year deal. So that my third year pro was in Binghamton, New York. Top 3 in majors that year. Had a good camp. Go back to camp the following year. Ended up making a team. So the Rangers, I wanted to like the young guys. The coach wouldn't let us live downtown. Coley Campbell was the coach at the time.
Right.
So I was like, okay, well, where do we live then? Because if you're going to be in the Apple, you want to be right downtown, right? But why would you?
Yeah.
You're young and you're single and whatever. So we lived in a place out in Rye, out near the practice rink. Well, White Plains actually, but the practice rink was in Rye. So,
Yeah.
and then I would just travel there, and it was pretty amazing. Like I'll never forget my first game getting called up. It was I was in St. John, New Brunswick. We're playing the Calgary Flames out there, or their farm team, St. John Flames. And so I fly into LaGuardia. The town car picks me up. I'm going downtown into Manhattan. I'm like 23 years old, playing my first game, walking to Madison Square Gardens. And I have no idea where I'm going. I'm getting directions where to go. I got my hockey bag over my shoulder and my stick. And no, I didn't forget my hockey bag, thank God. Jesus Christ. I was nervous as shit, right? I walk into the room. The first guy that greets me, the first guy that walks up to me is Wayne Gretzky. How's Delhi doing? You guys probably never heard of Delhi. That's the town that I actually grew up in. I played all my minor hockey in Delhi. It's double C because he lives in Brantford, right? Half hour north of us. So he's like, how's Delhi treating you? I'm like, whoa, pretty good, Wayne. He's on Wayne Gretzky. Yeah. So that was pretty cool. And then Messier was on that team then, too. A lot of good guys. A lot of hockey Hall of Fame.
You had both guys on the team.
I both did, yeah.
Messier and Gretzky?
96, 97. Wow. But I didn't play the game. Went up for warm-up, and then Barnaby was on the other – no, sorry, it was Islanders. And then I didn't play that game. Went for warm-up, came back up. And then the following game was in Buffalo. And then I got that was going to be my first game. So, yeah, I was pretty excited. My first shift was with Darren Langdon. Good old fellow Newsy. Had some really good fights with him in training camp and during regular season. And when he came to Newfoundland, of course, he was going to fight in his hometown, right? So I was a combatant with him. And then, so here we are. He's a left winger, I'm a right winger, and Mark Messier was our centerman for my first shift.
That's awesome. That had to be a highlight in your career, like being able to play with those two guys, right? That's so cool.
Yeah, and fourth line slugger from Delhi, Ontario, to sit on a bench. I remember being on a bench and looking to my right was Wayne Gretzky and looking to my left was Messi. I had to pinch myself because I was 6 years old when they broke into the league, right? So I grew up watching these guys, and these guys were phenoms, especially Gretzky. Do you remember the old GWG jeans? Great Wayne Gretzky. All the Canadian boys had those.
You had them.
Wait, what?
They were called GWG jeans.
You would wear them all the time?
My mom would buy me these GWG jeans. Great, or Gretzky's winning goal. That's what it stood for. Great Wayne Gretzky. That was probably one of his first plugs.
GWG. That's funny. Hey, God. So you're playing, and you talk about New York, and it is intimidating. Bushy, I remember getting traded from Montreal. I go to New York, and we're living downtown we were staying at the hotel game days, right? Downtown. Every game, my first, 5 games at home, this black guy, he was a scalper, would come up to me every day. Hey, you want to buy some tickets? And every time I'd say to him, listen, I got the best seat in the house. I'm all set. That's all I said to him. And then the fifth game, I finally comes up, hey, you want to buy some tickets? I said, hey, buddy, I played for the Rangers. He goes, what? What's your name? And I said, my name is Chris Nyland. Yo, Knuckles. He just fucking went off. It was hilarious. But I had come from Montreal where you can't go anywhere. Everybody knows what's going on. And then I'm in New York, and you're lost in that city. I mean, no one gives a shit about nothing. See you later. They're all worried about their own thing. And it was just so funny. And it was the tale of two cities, right? It was so different. But, so.
Would you like better? Did you like it when people didn't know you, or did you like it when they knew you?
No, listen, I love Montreal, put it that way. I just love the city. I love the organization. We talk about playing and fighting. They wanted me to be more than just a fighter. They wanted me to be a player, and they helped me do that. So I never wanted to leave Montreal. I had it out with a coach, and I ended up getting moved. But still, New York, my body was beat up kind of, and I had a shitload of injuries. It was just brutal. It was brutal. But, so Yeah, go
No,
ahead.
I was just gonna say it was just a different time back then too. Like after games, they have. I understand now. Like Tim, you would know this better than anyone because you're the most recent. But they right after your game, your food is brought right into the room, right? Like you got to eat
Yeah.
within an hour.
Right.
Sure, but,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
ours
Yeah.
was like you just drink beer in the room after while you're icing down, and then you go to a bar and you drink, and then you eat at the end of the night. And that's but you leave the arena taking your like anti-inflammatories because you got massive inflammation going on, and then you're told to eat, of course, but you don't do that at first when you're young, and yeah, so there's so many lessons along the
Yeah.
way, and I think these young guys have learned from a lot of our mistakes.
It's funny you say that because when playing here in Montreal, when Patrick Waugh came in as a rookie, right? They're watching Patrick, and his nickname was Corso. Corso is the thing that French fries come in at McDonald's because he was always at McDonald's eating. So because it was Patrick, and the GM Serge said we got to do something. This kid's eating at McDonald's every day. He brought in a goddamn nutritionist. So when we go to New York, we're playing the Rangers. We get to the hotel and then we got a meeting with a nutritionist. We come in, we all go to the meeting room, and the guy
Froze on
comes up,
me.
he introduced himself. He's a fat fuck. He was a fat
Froze
fuck,
on
and he's
me.
telling us how to eat, right? Like he fucking read his book in school and everything, but he didn't pay no fucking attention to it. He's going to tell us how to eat. So I'll never forget it. He's saying the morning of a game, you should overload on the carbs and blah, 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 and eat lunch. But so the next day I get up, I had pancakes for breakfast. Fuck, I had a big lunch, fucking pasta, everything, chicken. Fuck, I got in the warm up that night. I couldn't even move my fucking legs. I felt like the fuck. I just couldn't move. I'm like, but it's crazy today, like you said. They go to practice in the morning. Breakfast is there for them. They come off the ice. There's lunch after the game. There's dinner. It's
Well,
unbelievable.
we're waking
But
up as a society. Like what we fuel our bodies with is going to be a direct action of how we feel. Especially as we age. Like know where your food is coming from and know where your medicine is coming from. It's crazy. So yeah,
yeah,
it was just a different lifestyle back then, I guess. But wow, you broke up on me for about 30 seconds. I had to get reconnected. Uh, but
okay. Well,
No.
here
yeah.
you are. We
He
got
was
you.
saying his nutritionist was a fat fuck.
Oh, the nutritionist was.
Yeah, he was a fat fuck.
If you're going
That's
to
why.
be preaching nutrition, then you gotta. Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, I was saying we went to New York. When we got to the Rangers, they brought this nutritionist in, and we had the meeting the night before the game. And this guy comes in and starts telling us how to eat, and he was fucking huge. Everybody's like, "Are you shitting me?" Like,
That's
get
not
someone who's in fucking
right.
shape. Get Richard Simmons or something.
Who do you listen
But
to, right?
fuck,
It's like who do you listen
yeah.
to?
So Bushy, you with the Rangers for a bit, and then you go to Chicago, and that's, to me, when I look at it, that certainly looks like it was your best stint in the NHL. You made a home for yourself. How was the years in Chicago?
Awesome. Love the city. Everything was great. The organization was a little different. I loved it. I mean,
In what way?
well, traveling, just example, the Rangers had their own plane. They shared it with the Knicks. We would drive right up to the airplane, get off, get on the plane, go in the night before, wake up, pregame skate, game, the routine.
Well, the travel in New York is simple anyway, right? Like you're always home when you're with New York, right?
It
Rangers,
is,
it's crazy.
but if
You're never
you're
on the road.
yeah, so it's like a puddle jumping pretty much, or you're taking a bus, but you fly back
Yeah.
in and then you get off the plane and your car's right there and it's warmed up for you and you're gone. Like,
Yeah.
whoa, this is amazing, right? And then you had these big lazy boy chairs sitting on there. I'm like, whoa, I'm watching these guys playing poker for thousands of dollars, and I'm like, well, it's out of my league, but I'm going to watch. And so I get traded to some. My body was already breaking down at that point because I remember my shoulder was popping out, and the Rangers knew it, and they sent me down to Hartford, and then right at the trade deadline, they sent me to Chicago, and then my right shoulder that kept on popping out. So I'm a lefty, so that's pretty major. That's my balance. So I knew I had one opportunity with Chicago to make an impression because my shoulder was fucked because I was fighting the whole year with actually both my shoulders are popping out, but my right one was the worst. And so I remember being my first game was against Anaheim in Chicago. Nothing happened that game. It's not much of a game. And then the following night, I'm like, okay, I'm in Philadelphia. We got Dan Kordick. I'm going after Dan Kordick. And I was right in front of our bench. In the first 30 seconds of that fight, my shoulder popped out. And I was like, motherfucker. But I didn't really give a shit because I just knew I was going to be done for the rest of the year. And I was just trying to do everything I could to survive that fight. And
no, at what point in the season was that, Bushy? When you say how many games left in the season?
That was at the end of the season because I was traded. I was with the Rangers organization. And so I went down to Hartford for a little bit. And then at the trade deadline, they traded for me. So I knew my shoulder was messed up. So I just had to do something. Yeah. And then so my second fight so that would have been the 97-98 season. So the spring of 98. And then, So
you didn't have much left in the season?
No, there was 10, 12 games left in the season and then playoffs, right? Which they didn't make playoffs that year. I don't know. They didn't make playoffs that year anyway. So so I only missed one. But so they liked what they saw. They said, yeah, well, your shoulder's definitely out, and you need surgery. So I was done for the rest of the year. I got surgery not that much longer later, and then they signed me to a contract July 1st to my first one-way contract, which was pretty awesome.
I guess.
I was very, very happy.
You kidding me? How many years did you sign for? Now you got the shoulder fixed up. How many years they signed?
Yeah, so a 2-year deal, and then so I ended up signing 3 2-year deals with them
in Chicago.
Yeah, so yeah.
No, but going back to what you were saying, because you can't get a ticket now, it's sold. You know what I mean? But back when you played, I remember you telling me you were on Michigan Avenue in your jersey trying to give away tickets, and people were giving you the Heisman. Yeah. They were like,
oh yeah. So,
but you were the last team to fly commercial. I know when you were saying the organization was a little off.
Well, it was
so
Bill. The owner, Mr. Wirtz, Bill Wirtz, he was a great man, but he was also very, very old school in the sense where he wasn't airing any of the home games. So he was missing a huge fan base. You got to get these kids into the game, right? And watching TV is the easiest way to do that. But
he thought everybody was just going to come to the building if they can't watch it.
That's right. He's like, if he's like, these people that are paying for these season tickets are they're paying big money for that. Why should I let them watch a game on TV for free? That was his mentality. But and that's just the way he was. And his sons, Rocky, respected that. And everyone always said, you're going once the old man passes, a new takeover, the organization is going to change. So all the years that I was with the Hawks, it was under his regime, and we flew commercial airplanes. So coming from the Rangers to Chicago, we go back to now I'm flying commercial. So we're
middle seat by the shitter.
How much we're traveling? 82 games, half of them are on the road. Literally, we didn't even get a parking pass. So we're driving from downtown Chicago to O'Hare. Sometimes it could take you 45 minutes. Sometimes it could take you 2 hours and 45 minutes. So you never really know, and at different times of the day. And so, we had to get there way early. I had to wear a suit and ties. We had to park where the public parking was. We had to pay for our own. But yeah, we're making good freaking money, but we're doing this all the freaking time. Our cars are there for sometimes 2-3 days. Sometimes a week unless you get dropped off. Then
you had to pay for the parking.
Pay for the parking, and then you're just and when I say everyone else, I mean you're at the public and you're sitting. I remember flying to LA and I'm stuck in between Eric Daze, who's 6'5", 260 pounds, and some stranger to my left who's bigger than him, and I'm stuck in the middle with a suit and tie on. And you're sweating. I was motion sickness. I felt like I could. It was just. And then 9/11 happened.
We took a stagecoach to Boston one time. No. It's funny you say that, the commercial flights, that's what we flew all the time too, Bushy.
They're smoking
and when we flew, and this, it's crazy. The last 5 rows is the smoking section, right? Everybody's back there, and the whole plane stinks, right? Like, God,
Is
hello?
that where you were hanging out
Like,
there? You're probably at the back of the plane, right?
Oh
Sure.
yeah, I was always in the back. Yeah, I was in the back. Crazy.
But no, so that was, and then
Sipping a
9/11
few.
happened, and that was, that really shook everybody up, obviously, and then
Yeah.
we were mandated by the league to fly, to charter our own flights. We started chartering our own commercial flights then, so we had the whole commercial plane to ourselves, and we could sprawl out and things like that, be a little easier.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was, but Chicago was the last team to transition over because they had to get warned many times by the league. You have to charter your own.
Well, that's good. You finally get to enjoy the charter. There were times we did it in Montreal. We had a prop plane. Sometimes we go to Boston on it or Toronto, but always out west commercial. And it was miserable. Crazy. You play in LA and then you're flying back east. It's like, you fly from LA to Chicago to Montreal. It's like, you get stuck in the airport. Guys are drinking. You get home, you're fucking dead. And you're supposed to play the next day, right?
The way we treated our bodies is just like the whole
Right.
culture. It was just like not working for us for long-term health and wellness. Yeah.
One of the best, honestly, one of the best commuting trips we had was we took a train from Montreal to Quebec City. Kind of do it like the old guys did. They traveled by train, original 6 all the time. Montreal, Chicago, Montreal, Boston, Boston, Chicago, like crazy, right? Toronto, by train. So we end up, and we usually use the bus into Quebec City and get in there like 7 o'clock at night, get in the hotel, go to bed. Well, we took the train early in the morning, got there, practiced, and then we had all afternoon. And it's funny, Guy Lafleur, like he couldn't do anything, go anywhere in Quebec. And sure enough, there was a new bar called Bogart's in Quebec City. So Bogart's it is. We all go to Bogart's after practice. We never got the opportunity to stay in Quebec City. It was always gone after the game. See you later. You're out of town. And you're in the night before and boom, team meal, nothing. Well, that night we all go to Bogart's. And the next day on the front page of the Quebec paper, Lafleur at Bogart's till 4 in the morning. 4 a.m. So it's all over the newspaper. It's like they were just done. That whole Quebec Montreal thing was crazy. But anyway, they put it right on, show his picture and everything. And, we had the morning skating. He's skating around the house. And everybody's like, what the hell, right? So what's he do that night? He ends up scoring 2 goals night in the game. It was unbelievable. So everybody's like,
everything's kind of forgotten about. Everything.
Yeah, it was all.
And then all of a sudden, that culture is fine, and that's what happened, right? But
so Chicago days, 2003, 2004, you end up. That's the last full season you played there. Then you go to the Penguins, and I'm sure it was getting tougher by then, the lockout, all that stuff. And it opened your eyes to some things, which is good. There's positive and that negative. But then you go to Finland and you meet fucking Tim. How's that go when you went to – and we had Doug Shedden on, by the way.
Right on.
I love Shedden. Yeah, we had Shedden on. He was funny.
He's a good fit.
Yeah. Calling all hockey lovers. Upgrade your podcast experience by becoming an enforcer. Gain access to the greatest hockey doc ever, The Last Gladiators. And don't settle for ordinary. Join the Fight Club over on Patreon today. A good egg. So how was your time going to Finland?
Yeah, well, I didn't exit the game very gracefully, if you could say. I got in a little trouble in the summer of 2006.
That's right.
I'm glad you brought that up. Not that I was gonna key on that, but I certainly wanted to talk to you about it. So what happened there that summer?
So I was just,
If you don't mind.
yeah, no, it's just the truth. I was just out having fun, in the summertime, and then my wife was pregnant, and we were going to go to Pittsburgh to have our baby, and I was one last night out with my buddies, and we were at a bar in Turkey Point, and there's a big brawl that went on, and to make a long story short, my
who started the brawl?
It was at the time 2006. So I grew up in tobacco country, and so they just put in new legislation then in Ontario or Canada. I'm not sure, but I know Ontario for sure that you can't smoke in public buildings. And so tobacco farmers don't, they donate a lot of money to the local. They do a lot of good things, but
yeah.
So some of them
We'll
are pretty
smoke
hard. They didn't really want to not smoke, you know what I mean? So the bouncers, you got to understand the whole picture. Like this bar has been around for years. Like my grandparents were going to this Turkey Point hotel, and just very old school bar, and so these bouncers were known to be a little aggressive. They wear the steel toe boots, and they wear a mouth guard, and they wear their tight white t-shirts and rolled up, and they just look for shit. And so this one guy happened to be my wife's cousin. He was getting carried out. I didn't see this. Was getting carried out out of the bar by his neck because he had a smoke in his mouth. So the guy was just dragging him out. Uh-huh. So my cousin says to him, little excessive, aren't you? And he already had his mouth wired shut from something else. So apparently they're fighting outside. So my cousin Kevin and him, they're fighting outside, and someone told me that, and I was like, well, that's okay. Let them fight outside because I don't want to get involved. And then there was I guess there was two bouncers on him. So then I walked out, and then sure enough, there was two bouncers beating the shit out of him. So I just went to go grab the one guy, pull him off, and I don't know what happened after that. Knuckles, somebody must have booted me or pushed me against the wall or something. I was struck somehow, and I was rendered how better than anyone too. You've been hit so hard before where you're kind of knocked out on your feet, but you're still conscious, but you're unconscious, and it's very automatic for you to fight or flight, and you're going to fight harder. Yeah. And that's kind of what happened. Yeah. I took a blow to the head, and I don't remember. The next thing I remember is being across the road with my hands handcuffed behind my back, not being able to breathe because I'm getting tasered. And apparently I was tasered 3 times and pepper sprayed twice. And the last time was I'm on my stomach, and my head's up, and I just come to. I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? And I'm just caught out of my taser, and then this cop comes up and he squats down and he takes his pepper spray right in my eyes, goes, how do you like that? How do you like that? And now I'm fucking mad. I'm like, now I'm losing my fucking shit, but I'm already handcuffed. Apparently I lost my shit before that, but I don't recall that. Yeah. So, and then throughout that incident, I did hit a police officer, and it wasn't good. So it got me in a lot of trouble, and so that put me in. So make a long story short, I deserved to. Then the next day they transferred me to another area, another jail actually, and on the way there they had me handcuffed behind my back, and they had me in this paddy wagon, and they just cranked the heat up and stopped real fast and turned real fast. And I was like, okay, I deserve this. I get it. No problem. I hit one of their own. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like somebody's gonna hit one of your teammates. You're gonna there's got to be some sort of retribution. But I guess in the end, so I was charged, obviously, and then, but the worst part was, well, not the worst part, but the gentleman that I hit, his name is Hector. He sued me for $10.2 million, and I was like, so I'm getting charged criminally, and I'm getting charged civilly. So I couldn't even afford the 0.2 of the 10.2. I think he thought I was making Rob Blake.
Yeah, right. A cool hockey player.
Rob Blake was making I think $9 or $10 million at that time. So so this gentleman turned out to, so he was so I had to get a private investigator to do some due diligence on this policeman. So I found out, so he's from Jamaica. He ended up being an offshore laborer here, working in the tobacco fields, and got a local girl pregnant, and got married, got his Canadian citizenship, and then got got on the force, and 4 years later, after him being on the force, he sued me for $10.2 million. So that was about a 2-year process. So there was not a lot of teams, and that was at the end of my career, anyways. And I was beaten and battered, and I was ready to pack it in. I was 34 at the time. And
which is right there.
So
you're right there.
And then, but I got an offer. Literally, like I got out of jail, and 5 days later, the Ottawa Senators make me an offer, $250 in the minors and $500 up top. And at the time, I was like, I don't know. I was just losing. I was just like, I said, no, I'll take 500, but I didn't want a two-way. I didn't want to be in the minors.
Yeah.
So nothing else came around after that. And I was like, my wife and I always talked about going overseas to play some hockey. And that's where I got to meet Tim.
So Bushy, just quickly, if we can just finish that story before you go to Finland. Did the Pittsburgh Penguins, when you got pinched for this and got charged, did they say, we don't want you to come to camp?
My contract was done.
What was that?
So I just finished
it was done.
Yeah,
so,
I was
okay.
I was going to be an unrestricted free agent. So yeah.
Okay. So
and they knew I was already damaged goods. My shoulder, my neck was messed up at that time. They knew I was damaged goods as well.
So you got cleared of the charges criminally. I saw that. What happened with the 10.2?
Yeah.
Did you beat that in civil court?
Yeah, I beat that.
Happened?
Well, I would say it got dropped down to, we'll just call it less than $20,000 in 3 equal payments, and the last payment I had fun with.
Well, that must be, that had to be a relief, though.
It was
right?
a relief
because
to get
hanging
that
over
with.
Yeah. Right? Yeah. Like, what a freaking pain in the ass.
Yeah, it was a bit of a cloud there for a while, but, you battle through. Yeah.
Well, I've had nights out I regret, too, and I'm sure you regretted that one.
It wasn't,
Move on.
You got to move on. Learn and move on. That's all we can do.
So you go off to Finland. How was that? How'd that happen?
Yeah, so
you meet the great Tim.
Yeah, you came to fight.
Well, little did I know, apparently. So there's this, Tim, I'll let you tell the story because I want to hear it from your perspective at the finish side, because as for me, I was just going over to play some hockey, and I didn't realize that there was this Pasi Nikolin that was all pumped and ready to, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I didn't know much. I mean,
Come on, Tim, don't lie.
No, I'm being serious. Like because that was my first year, and I don't think we played IFK, or maybe we did then. There's 2 teams, Nucks, that were like literally, like you can, maybe it's a 4-iron for you and a 7-iron for me. Like that's how close they were. No, I'm just kidding. But that's how close they were, and they were like big rivals. And they had this. I didn't know much. He was a Finnish guy, but apparently he was like their Finnish tough guy. And Sheds came and we signed Bushy to come over and fight this guy. But Bushy, you didn't. You're right. You didn't like know that was kind of happening. And they made like a big deal about it. Remember you came in and like our whole team was like YouTubing his fights. Like we were all just like so excited. And I was like, what's going on here? But yeah. And then you had
What
to
do you
fight.
mean you were like, what's going on here? Shedden told you we're bringing in this guy to fight him, didn't he? That's what you told me.
But I'm saying the way the team was reacting and like just the city. It
Well,
was
so
like,
what happened? Do you remember what happened after that? So I ended up fighting this guy. I was like, whatever, we'll go. So we squared off in front of the bench. We went at it pretty good. And then, so the next day, I get charged for assault.
Oh,
do you remember that?
I do remember.
I was charged for assault.
I almost forgot
on
about
the
that.
ice. You got charged on the ice.
And I'm like, what is going on?
I forgot about that.
And I still had these other. I was still going through that other bullshit at the time.
Oh my God!
That's just what the hell is going on here. So, anyways. Yeah, that was my little.
But then you played, and you were.
What did you say?
You were
Is this a
line mate.
jokerit?
Exactly right. The Jokerits is a Jokerit. No, I had they were a good organization. They took care of it. It wasn't their fault, but yeah, one of my last games there, Tim. I don't know if you remember, but it was my wife's first game, and she came with my two little kids at the time. And I went to go hit a guy into the boards, but he turned his back on me at the last second, so I didn't want it. So I kind of stutter stepped a little bit, but you know where the glass comes down and the boards come out. I came on. I jarred myself, knocked out all my front teeth. Well, I already had 3 of them gone.
You lost all your teeth.
Three of them gone.
Yes.
Oh. And then, so all my teeth come out.
They put it. It's like something about Mary. Wait, like you had these fake white teeth that were just like, oh my god.
So I'm coming off the ice. Before we get to that part,
right.
I'm coming off the ice. The first person I see is my wife and her mother and my 2 little kids, and I got blood coming out of my mouth everywhere. Right. So now I got to go to the dentist. Oh. So the next day, I'm like, after the swelling goes down, I don't know, about a month later, I go to the dentist to get some fake fucking teeth put in my mouth. And I swear to God, when they put the mirror in front of me, I thought it was a joke. I said, you got to be kidding me. These are horse teeth. You expect me to wear these guys?
Yeah, it was amazing.
They gave me the little stick.
Mr. Ed.
Oh, God. So, yeah, that was the whole time going through the charges back home, and there's nothing to smile about back then. That is for sure.
Oh, my God.
I got
you must have been like, was that your last game there, losing your teeth?
No, then I played a little bit more after that, and then I had an opportunity. The writing's on the wall. I'm just couldn't do it anymore. So I went to the CHL, Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I had an opportunity to be
the Scorpions, right?
New Mexico Scorpions, and I had an opportunity to be a player coach there. So Ray Edwards, do you know Ray Edwards? I think he's with the Calgary.
I know the name.
Ray Edwards. Back in the OHL, I fought him back in the OHL back in the day. Anyways, he's my coach, and I'm assistant coach, and we're doing video and all this kind of stuff. But I'm like, I was so beat up, and I was going numb. So I already had fusions on my neck, and I had surgery on my neck already. So anytime I got in a fight, my arms would go numb, and I just couldn't. And all these guys, you know what it's like coming. You got an NHL guy coming down and then going down to the minors. Like everyone and their dog wanted to fight me, and I was just like, there's tough boys everywhere. I don't care whether you're in the ECHL, the CHL, the American Hockey League. Obviously,
they can fight. They can fight.
Holy fuck, everyone's tough. So I was like, right, give me some, I don't need to play this much. I don't want to play every freaking game. So I just couldn't go on any longer. So in January, just for medical purposes, I couldn't do it. So I packed it in, and then we ride back from New Mexico. My wife and I, we got a U-Haul, we got a dog, we got a cat, we got our 2 young kids, and ordered our real estate books and got licensed to sell real estate 6 months later. Yeah.
So you started that, which is awesome. Again, I look at my own case. A lot of guys struggle in retirement. It's difficult, not fun, but that's good you got into something else right away.